This morning's Breakfast Bible Bites continues to look into Psalms 104, verses 5 and 6, where the science of the earth itself proclaims the awesomeness of our Creator and Designer. The psalmist wrote in 5 and 6, "You who laid the foundations of the earth so that it should not be moved forever, you covered it with deep as with a garment. The waters stood above the mountains." The water stood above the mountains, and no dry land was visible, and the clouds of steam covered it all as if the new planet was clothed in a birthing blanket. Geologists record this as the formation of the Earth, writing about it as if it were a new discovery, and perhaps to them it was. But the Holy Spirit had revealed this fact long before their discovery. These few passages offer evidence of an intelligent design by our Creator, commencing His work and laying a foundation for a future order and beauty. To think of this with the proper perspective of awe will reverently fill us with adoration. To conceive of it in terms of the modern concept of a gradually evolving earth through evolution is grossly and carnally blasphemous, giving credit due to God to another. God's Spirit writes many thousands of years ago in Job 20 and verse 2 that the Creator hung the earth upon nothing, an immovable object, as if it had been laid upon a firm and rock-solid foundation. He laid the foundation of the earth so solid that even when buffeted by the sin of man, the blast of a hydrogen bomb, the strike of an asteroid, or the wiles of the devil, it will not be moved until the end of time, at which point, because God's garden of earth became so corrupt with the fall of Adam, God will replace it with a new earth, according to 1 Corinthians 7:31. In verses 11 through 18, the psalmist reveals the effects of the hydrogen cycle that provide water in relationship to the interdependent garden of God's green earth. Psalm 104, 11 through 18 reads, "They give drink to every beast of the field. The wild donkeys quench their thirst. By them the birds of the heavens have their home. They sing among the branches. He waters the hills from his upper chambers. The earth is satisfied with the fruit of your works. He causes the grass to grow for the cattle and the vegetation for the service of man, that he may bring forth food from the earth, and wine that makes glad the heart of man, oil that makes his face shine, and bread which strengthens his man's heart. The trees of the Lord are full of sap. The cedars of Lebanon which he planted, where the birds make their nest, the stork has her home in the fir trees. The high hills are for wild goats, the cliffs are refuges for rock badgers." Verses 11 through 18 focus on the interdependent symbiotic relationship between water, plants, and animals. All are evidence of an intelligent designer. Mountain goats climb above the cliffs, badgers burrow among the rocks, and wild animals drink their fill and quench their thirst. By the river banks and high in the trees the birds build their nests, praising the Lord with their song. The Lord waters the mountains with rains, the trees are well watered, and the rivers are filled, supplying the valleys with water, which in turn allows the grass to grow for the deer and the livestock, providing hay for the animals and produce from the plowed ground. This is the earth that Adam was born into and can be ours once again if we are born again and filled with God's Holy Spirit, as Adam was in the beginning. Solomon writes of the hydrogen cycle 1,000 years before science discovered it. He writes in Ecclesiastes 1:7, "All the streams flow to the sea, and yet the sea is never full. To the place where the streams flow, they flow again." Revelation 21, 1 through 4 reads, "Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea no longer existed. I also saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down from heaven from God, prepared like a bride adorned for her husband. Then I heard a loud voice from the throne, 'Look, look, God's dwelling is with humanity, and he will live with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. Then he will wipe away every tear from their eyes. Death will no longer exist. Grief, crying, and pain will exist no longer because the previous things have passed away. Folks, if you're not sure what you need to do to be born again and filled with God's Holy Spirit, send me a message on Messenger for a confident response.